You know, we are so lucky we've got such a fun, easy job. Not like firefighters who put their lives on the line every single day for you, for me, for all of us in Houston.
We're running out of these buildings.
Yeah, they're running in.
They're running in.
We got you, HFD, and all firefighters in the whole surrounding area. Really, any firefighter anywhere. I mean, you're just a hero. And we've had a really great connection and relationship with our Houston firefighters, especially Marty Lancton, who is the president of the Houston Professional Firefighter Association. We had him on, I feel like, God, it's been like 4 years ago now that this whole thing started. How many years ago?
How many years was it, Marty?
It's been about 4 years, but it feels like an eternity.
It's
been a long time.
Hey, Marty,
we're back.
So 4 years ago, the saga started that the firefighters wanted to get a raise, had to get voted on by the city of Houston. Finally got on the ballot, asked for a lot of drama. It got voted in. Somebody texted at 37530. I am so, in caps, glad y'all are doing this segment. So many people think, oh yeah, I voted for Proposition B and I haven't thought about it since. But not many people realize what is currently going on with it still. Thank you for bringing this up.
Yeah, what is going on, Marty?
What is going on?
Let's go back first, though, because remember you came in here to talk about this.
Yeah.
To get it on the ballot, you had to have, 60,000?
20,000 signatures.
20,000 signatures.
And,
You came on the radio, we had nothing.
It was the Rule and Ryan Army. And you asked when I came in and told you about the issues that were going on in 2017. And I think the question was, well, what can we do about it?
Right.
And we said, we need to get out there and ask the citizens to take care of, because we know they support the Houston firefighters.
How many signatures did you get?
We needed 20,000, and when we came on and rolled it out, we got over 60,000 in just over 7 days.
So
based on all of your
people.
listeners and everybody that stood up, and we, I'm told, set a state of Texas record.
Wow.
And
they were shocked. They're like, how's this
You know
possible?
what?
Yeah.
What blows me away is that the will of the people has not been carried out.
Because
we
that was
voted.
on. Prop B was on.
Then it
People
got
had
on
to
the
vote.
ballot.
We said we want this.
And then what happened,
the mayor
Marty?
didn't want it.
And then what happened,
I
Marty?
think about every roadblock you can imagine, but just think about a listener. The best way to go and get a situation addressed if nobody's listening, there is no higher authority, in my opinion, than the vote of the people.
Yep.
And when we went to the vote, there was a lot of money spent to campaign against its own Houston firefighters
yes,
and paramedics.
yes. A lot of money was
these
spent to campaign
These men and
against
women
it.
have been through a lot.
Where's that money come from, by the way?
Well, it comes from the budget and comes from taxpayers and
Yeah,
taxpayers.
so my taxpayer dollar
Yeah.
was used against me.
Yes. Well, not only did Houston firefighters get up and say, listen, we just need something to take care of the men and women. We've lost 400 firefighters to go to other departments. We are here to protect the citizens of Houston. And when we went to the vote, the Houston firefighters and our families and the citizens and your listeners stood out there and supported us, and we passed it. And then the city, with your tax dollars, hired a law firm to overturn the will of the voters.
And
we've been in the
from
courts,
what
and
I
the
remember,
firefighters have not gotten paid.
went to the ends of the earth, it seems like, to keep throwing things in the way of this to
right.
make it not pass. So it got all the way to the Texas Supreme Court.
That's right. Last week.
Okay,
Last week.
now what's happening with it? Still, 4 years later, we're fighting for this. Now
don't pay
what's
raise,
happening
no
with
nothing.
it? My
I think I've
God.
said this a couple times on the show, but when you talk about do you trust a politician or you trust a firefighter, I'm going to go with firefighters any day of the week.
Yeah, for sure.
These men and women are selfless. They put their lives on the line. We've lost too many of our Houston firefighters in the line of duty. But what we have always done and said is we want to do things the right way. We want to be transparent. And but most importantly, you cannot have a fire department in the third largest municipal fire department where firefighters and paramedics have to work 3 and 4 jobs. It's ridiculous. We pay taxes so that we ensure public safety is a priority. It hasn't been. And when we got in the courts, the city has lost every step of the way. And we got to the Supreme Court last week. It was the first time the city has had to answer for what it is that they were doing in front of the justice of the Texas Supreme Court. And let me tell you, I don't think it took very long for exactly what we've been saying. And we've been telling the listeners, we've been telling everybody the truth. And I think the truth came out. It took 4 years. Justice was delayed. But the city has not paid its firefighters. They're still working under conditions that
Why
are
is it?
terrible.
What is the mayor's motivation for not wanting to
What
take
I
care
saw
of you guys?
after I saw Marty on TV, that's why I wanted to get you up here. Then the lawyers for the city were saying, if we give this to them because they get back pay and all the stuff, the city's going to be screwed, broke, and he's threatened. I'm like, well,
How do you
that
respond
sounds
to
like
that,
your problem,
Marty?
A
right?
couple things I've said is that if you're
management.
saying that the reason the city of Houston is going to go bankrupt is because you can't pay Houston firefighters and paramedics to save the citizens' lives that we swore an oath to protect, that in and of itself is a problem.
It's a major problem.
You got money for a bike
Major
trail, right?
Exactly. And the
of a
second
city.
part is that when you don't pay your bill for nearly 5-6 years, you can't come back and then be the victim.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
For those just
What
tuning in,
about
let me reset. You're hearing the voice of Marty Lancton. He is the president of the Houston Professional Firefighter Association, and he is the face and the voice for all the great men and women in the Houston Fire Department that have been struggling financially for years.
And they're still showing up every day to work.
They're
working their butts
and they
off.
struggle with their equipment. I mean, the very famous story and very famous visual of a fire truck that broke down.
Yeah.
A fire truck that broke down, and there was a kid on a gurney and an ambulance. They're doing work on this person in the street because the fire truck had broken down from getting to. It's just terrible equipment.
Or how
They need
about
upgrades.
It's like, where
Yeah.
are our
Photos
priorities?
in July.
Exactly.
There's no air conditioning
Right.
in the vehicles. They weren't doing
Oh,
it.
yeah, 125 degrees.
we become-
Captain Russ in his pictures, 125 degrees in his truck.
Yes, Captain Ross knows very well. And, the thing is that Houston firefighters, or firefighters in general, I say right now, in the course of the discord and politics in general and everything else, if you look at the U.S. Fire Service, I think it is the greatest equalizer in our society today, meaning we come to work, we serve the citizens equally, we come and we respond to everybody the same with the same amount of personnel and equipment. But here's the deal. You got to have working equipment. You got to have the basics of things. You've got to fix the problems. You can't ignore them. And when you're an emergency responder and when 911 and seconds matter, our men and women, number one, should be the top priority, because if we're not taking care of them, there's nobody out there to take care of the people that need us the
So
most.
what can the people listening right now do to help?
What they can do is we went to the Texas Supreme Court last week. We should hear a ruling, I would say probably in maybe 90 days or so.
Okay.
But what they can do is just, thank a Houston firefighter and paramedic. We're down 400 firefighters right now.
Wow.
We have less firefighters today than we did back in 2010.
And we have like an extra, 400,000 people, it feels like?
And we were running about 225,000 calls, which is a lot. In 2010, we're running over 500,000 now with 400 less.
God, that
it's
boggles the
unacceptable.
mind.
And
And
we've
what people
said
are leaving for, Marty, is they go to other cities that pay
They're
firefighters
poaching them
more.
like
Absolutely.
Dallas, right?
100%.
Austin, they're like, hey, you guys got the best firefighters.
yes,
We're going to take them.
We're
Train them in
train-
Houston,
Yep, train
pay
them
them in
Houston,
Austin,
and
pay
them
them in
Austin.
Dallas,
I
pay
mean,
them in
you
somewhere
can't
else.
expect people to go out there and do the job that we ask firefighters, paramedics to do, and not pay them what they're worth. And it's a priority issue within the budget. City's got a $5.7 billion budget. If you can't find funds within a budget, why? I'm a born and raised native Houstonian. I pay taxes.
Yep.
And my expectation is public safety is number one. You can't just shortchange an emergency response department and a public safety. But the men and women continually go out there, even though they don't have the support, and they respond to the citizens on their worst day. And I'm been the honor and probably the most proud I've ever been to represent the men and women. I tell people I will vouch for a firefighter and paramedic any day. I will not vouch for most politicians.
Yeah.
Hey, Marty, let me
No.
ask you this. Somebody on text said, hey, talk about how they're shutting down stations. They're shutting down fire stations?
We're down 400 firefighters, and what we've said and came on air years ago,
Right.
we don't have enough personnel to staff all the apparatus. And what
You're
we
right,
do
you're
is the city likes to come up with creative terms. It's out of service. They call it browning out. They call it kind of like rolling brownouts when you talk about electricity. The problem is systemic, and the problem is that this city has ignored it. And you can't fix a problem if you just continually ignore it, because you're hurting the citizens, because we have to have the personnel. Our greatest asset in the fire department is the men and women who are willing to go out there, leave their families, and to put their lives on the line every day
How
for
can they
everybody
not
else.
Can you imagine your house is
prioritize
burning
this?
down and you've gotten your family out safely? You're trying to get them out safely, but they say, well, I'm sorry, the firefighters can't show up because they just don't. There aren't any
Or they're
nearby.
farther away now because
It's taking too
Station
long
house
to
is
for
gone.
them to
Absolutely.
get here.
It is. It's not rhetoric. Our response time have gone way up over the years. You shouldn't be doing that in an emergency response model. We're here.
Yeah.
Seconds matter in
yeah.
lives.
Seconds
And,
absolutely
and the men
matter.
and women that are on the front lines take this very, very seriously. We have to be there to get to you.
I would like to quote this texter without saying all the F-bombs they've included.
Yeah.
And it says, what I want to know is why the blank does it take this long to make a common sense decision to help the people of Houston? Like, what the blank is wrong with these
I think
people?
you've got to ask the mayor
90
that.
blanking days? Are you blanking serious? Well, that's just a
about the
legal thing.
Oh, the Supreme Court?
But the 4
Yeah.
years? Yeah, that's a blanking
It took
nightmare.
this long, this many years
Well,
to get to the Supreme Court.
Right. But this is, it's
That
not
ain't
about
had
that.
to go to the Supreme Court.
It's the voters. It's your listeners. Listen, whatever your disagreement, if you believe one side or the other, we settle things at the ballot box.
Yeah.
But you can't invalidate a vote of the people,
Which he tried.
which
That's
is
what they've
exactly
been
what he's
doing.
been doing
Yes.
with your
He
tax
100%
dollars.
tried to invalidate the vote
And
at the ballot
that is
box.
absolutely something that I can't wrap my head around.
And especially, Marty, isn't it so hypocritical in a world now where we are so sensitive about people being able to vote and making sure their voice counts and not discounting what the result was? And then he totally discounted, he being the mayor, discounted what we as a city voted for you guys. And you had to spend money, and the city has had to spend our money to fight this out 4 years later in Texas Supreme Court. It's just a hot
And
mess.
what do you
It's
think?
insane.
What do you think their spin's going to be? Because they have 90 days, and they're going to know.
I think they're out of
know they're
spins.
gonna lose.
Listen,
do you think they're
we've
going to try and?
They tried to use the police department and say
tried to use the
that,
police
and-
department. They tried to threaten layoffs. They tried to threaten this. They fired me. If you guys
remember
recall,
he was- remember he was gone.
you know,
Yeah.
anything possible to not have to answer for the truth. We've never asked for anything other than the truth. I've said on here many times, anybody, any one of you in here, we welcome to come in and see for yourselves, look at it objectively. We are okay with somebody else coming in and taking a look at it. But this city's refusal to take care of its men and women, and this city's refusal to prioritize the needs of the Houston Fire Department are unacceptable. And I said I would be unapologetic representing the men and women because it's the right thing to do. And I know that the citizens of Houston support our men and women.
What was
Of course.
What were the? Yeah, remember they tried to get him to say you have to work on the at a station or something. What was the angle?
Because
Oh,
you hadn't,
yeah,
you,
yeah,
hadn't
yeah.
put any, you didn't log any firefighter hours.
Yeah.
Because
It
your
was-
job,
that
your job
was
is to
their
take
angle.
care
I
of
mean,
them.
I think the
What was that? I remember
the high level view is how can we get him to go away because we don't we're getting closer to the truth. Everything I have said has been factual, has been the truth because we don't believe you need to cut corners and lie to people in order to get things done.
And you have no motivation to lie, Marty.
No, not whatsoever.
This
Was that
texter
around the
says,
time?
Hold on. This texter says, thank you so much for talking about HFD and bringing awareness. My husband was one of the 400 firefighters that left. We just could not make our lives work on an HFD salary. So sad.
That's
so thank you for
terrible.
putting the spotlight on this again. If you're just tuning in, we're talking to Marty Lancton. He's the president of the Houston Professional Firefighter Association with an update that now what we voted on 4 years ago has gone to the Texas Supreme Court and it's going to be about 90 days before we figure out if they say yes, you're right, Marty. Then what happens? We still have to wait.
Well, no, I mean the city should be paying the firefighters right now. The citizens spoke; it's the law.
They
That's
have
what
money for other
What
things.
they'll
I
do
mean,
then is they'll threaten they're gonna have to fire other people. Though is what they'll do.
You know, we're done with threats. Our focus, and we've said, is that
why did they fire his $95,000 intern?
Yeah. the
Oh yeah, I
intern.
forgot about that.
That guy made a lot of
He
money.
had money for
He didn't
that,
do
and he
anything
said he
there.
never met him, and then there's pictures of
something
him looking
there.
at him right there.
Knew each
Somebody
other for a
wants to
photo.
know-
Oh,
hey,
yeah.
Marty, somebody wants to know, does it only stop with the mayor or the city council somehow can override him? Because if they could have, wouldn't they have done
no.
it by
Well, see,
now?
unfortunately, so the way that our system of government in Houston is, I know we're having a politics lesson, a government lesson
well,
here, but
we don't know how it
works.
but Houston is unlike any other city in the entire United States. The agenda of city council can only be written by one person, and that's the mayor. So we have council members. Unfortunately, those
can't bring
council
it up.
members cannot put it on the agenda. It is controlled by the mayor. Now, funny
Well,
you asked that,
a lot
or
of people didn't know
the texter asked, because we actually got together and we put another referendum together in petitions, and we built the broadest coalition the city of Houston and I think the state of Texas has ever seen. We got parties from the far left and the far right to all sign on to a petition in order to change the way our government is, so that the elected council members that represent our districts
Actually have
can
power.
put things on the agenda to discuss that affect citizens, Houstonians, the
That would-
departments.
in their
So
district.
just one
But,
person
yeah.
picking what they choose.
It's just one. And every time
When's
that
the new
there's
mayor? When do we vote for a new mayor?
November of 2023.
Not quick enough.
so
I mean, I hope
so
it
this mayor's
changes
plan
that.
probably is kick this down the can, and then he doesn't have to deal with it. Then the next mayor will have
Yeah.
to deal with
I
it.
mean, isn't that what politicians do?
Yep.
Yeah, all of them, both sides.
So firefighters don't
every
get to
side.
do that. We have to go there and we have to give it our all every day. We don't get to have an excuse.
the-
We love you. We love your passion.
And
Hey,
the
glad
epic
you're here.
irony that Marty and all of the firefighters would still gladly run into a burning house of one of the people that is stepping on them
Absolutely.
to save them and their families.
That's
the craziest irony of it
they're better
all. 'cause
people than
they'll
me.
still do it, even though you're getting.
You guys
sad.
are awesome. We wouldn't be here without you. Your listeners, I want
No,
to say thank
thanks,
you
Marty.
to everything. You guys
Merry
have been friends
Christmas.
of ours, and Merry
Enjoy the
Christmas,
holidays.
Happy New Year. And are you really going to eat a hot dog?
No,
Out of Kevin's
Okay.
butt.
Okay. And then-
Is the mayor going to give me the money? Is he going to not
Oh,
funded?
you got to
Not
listen to the
enough
What's Your Price segment before this. It got real
95,000, Eric.
Yes. Okay. Thank you for the update. We'll have another update hopefully in
Yeah, let us
3
know whenever
months or
something
so.
Absolutely.
Get back up
Or
here.
whenever something gets back. Thanks, Marty.
Thank
Happy
y'all.
holidays.
Have
Coming
a
up next, your
great
chance to go spend Christmas in San Antonio at SeaWorld and see the biggest light display in the state of Texas. We'll give you tickets for that next on The Rule and Ryan Show.